mentor, Bob Knakal.
Thanks, Shappy, and great to be here today, to be with you guys. I've been a long admirer of this organization. So when Rob asked me to speak today, most of the time when I speak, and for those of you who know me, I speak a lot mostly about what's happening in the market. And recently, my speeches about the market have been kind of negative. I've been depressing people with this correction that we're going through. So I'm not going to talk about the market today. I'm going to talk about the lessons learned in the 26 years and 46 days that Paul and I ran Massey Knakal. And I think these lessons are pretty wide-reaching and macro. I think they really don't just apply to a real estate brokerage business. I think they apply to any service business. And if you think about it, if you're on the brokerage side of the business, you're really running your own business within a business. So hopefully these will have some good applications for stuff that you do, and I'll share my story with you a little bit, and hopefully you get something out of this. There's the old MK logo, which I still love that color. No offense, Ron. I know we have the blue and the red and everything, but I love the green. So for the last 14 years of MK, you can see according to the CoStar chart, we did more than 3 times the number of sales as the number 2 company. And that's something that made me very, very proud. It's like, Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs. Barry Bonds hit 762 home runs. We would have hit 2,200 home runs based on a relative analysis. So lesson number 1. Here's my pal. Who is that guy? Gordon Gekko, absolutely, Gordon Gekko. So I'll take you back to 1981. I'm a freshman at the Wharton School, and back then Gordon Gekko actually wasn't even created yet because he came out in 1985, but we admired guys like Michael Milken and Ivan Boesky, and I wanted to be a Wall Street guy, just like every other Wharton kid back then. So I grew up in northern New Jersey, and I decided to drive around over spring break, dropping my resume off at every commercial bank and investment bank I saw, hoping to get a job that would look great on my resume. So I'm in Hackensack, and I come out of a Payne Weber office, and across the hall, I see Coldwell Banker. Now, for those of you who haven't been around that long, CBRE has been CB Richard Ellis, it was CB Commercial, and before that, it was called Coldwell Banker Commercial, or Coldwell Banker. So I look at this sign, and I think the place is a bank. So I walk in and give them my resume. Later that afternoon, I get a call. Hey, Bob, we'd like to interview you for a summer job tomorrow. I set up the interview. And don't forget, this is 1981, so there's no internet. So I go to the library to look up this bank to find out a little bit about them. And I see the place is a real estate company. I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to get into real estate. But they were the only ones who were hiring college kids for the summer. I took the job. Loved it from my first day on the job. I saw a bunch of hardworking people having fun, making a lot of money. I'm like, hey, this is a pretty cool business. So I went back, worked in that office in Hackensack my next 2 summers, and then started with CB here in New York when I got out of school. So lesson number 1 is keep an open mind, think outside the box. You never know where an opportunity might be coming from. Lesson 2. There's the next mayor of New York City, my partner, Paul Massey. That's it. And believe me, we know it's going to be an uphill battle, but if he became mayor of New York, he would do such an incredibly great job. He's a consensus builder. He listens to people. I don't want to make a political speech, but Paul would be a fantastic mayor for New York. But anyway, lesson number 2. And Paul and I, although we have different skill sets and over time gravitated towards different aspects of the business, the one thing that made our partnership so strong, and I've been partners with Paul for 32 years, only really had one argument with him, which I'm glad he won. That was in 2007 when we had a great offer to sell the business, and I wanted to sell, he didn't want to sell, and thankfully we didn't, and we got more than double what I would have been willing to take. So Paul, thank you for not agreeing with me then. But the one thing that really made our partnership function, and I think is something that is necessary in any partnership is that you have to have the same work ethic. I think if you add up all the hours that Paul and I worked over the 32 years that we were partners and aggregated them over those whole 32 years, I bet you there's less than a 10-hour difference between the number of hours I've worked and the number of hours he worked. And I think that was a key ingredient in making our partnership last. So the Monopoly Man. So let me take you to 1986. We were brokering for 2 years. 1986, I was 24, Paul was 26. We made $176,000 each. We thought we were the hottest guys in town. So we go down to Chemical Bank on Madison Avenue and talk to our branch manager, who we got to know. And we said, hey, we want to start a brokerage business. We need a $500,000 loan. Where do we sign? And this older woman, Nancy Stockwell, who was the branch manager, looked at us, started laughing, and said, hey, you know what, you guys, go start your business, and after you have a 3-year track record, come back to us, and maybe we'll talk about giving you a couple of dollars. So lesson number 3 is don't expect bank financing for a while. Lesson number 4, back to my friend Gordon. And the quote, which you probably can't read if you're in the back, is the most valuable commodity I know of is information. And what the lesson here is to know what business you're actually in. Right from the beginning of getting into the business, Paul and I realized that we weren't in the commercial real estate brokerage business. We were in the information business. And that was the basis of why we decided to have a territory system. The city was far too big to know about everything about every neighborhood, but by focusing on one area, we really got to know what made that area tick. And that provided several benefits for us down the line. So understanding what business you're really in was a key to how we established our platform and why we operated the way we did. Lesson number 5, the X's and O's. Have a game plan. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to sell buildings. We wanted to only do seller representation. We wanted to only work on exclusive listings. We wanted to have this territory system. So knowing exactly what we wanted to do enabled us to come up with goals and objectives and allowed us to achieve what we wanted to achieve. We always had to-do lists. We always focused on our 3-year plan, our 5-year plan, and it really made a tremendous difference for us. Lesson number 6, who are these old guys on the chart, on the screen? One of the things we didn't do, which I wish we had back in the early days, is we never asked senior people for advice. So consequently, we did things by trial and error and made a ton of mistakes. So ask people who have experience in whatever it is you're trying to do or trying to achieve, who have been there and done that. Most of the time, folks are very happy to share that knowledge with you. And it's remarkable what you can learn from them. In later years, we had an advisory board of folks at Massey Knakal that were extremely helpful to us, gave us ideas how to change the business, how to do things differently, and relying on people who have been there and have done that was a tremendous thing. So ask senior people for advice.